On this week's show, as the biggest names realize how cool it is to be indie, it's time to give them their welcome package. Then we pay tribute to an indie who did it right and did it well for a very long time. Then we have a little fun as we look at some of the predictions made in the past by prognosticators and so-called experts. But what would you have predicted about the publishing industry 10 years ago? We'll discuss that and more with our roundtable discussion panel. CL Cannon is along with her indie connection, and while she might not have 100 names for us, the ones she does have are always magical. Speaking of magical, we'll see what Megan Morgan has up her sleeve in the final 5 minutes today. So sit down, grab your coffee, and let's get to talking about all these issues and more. Here's your host for This Week in Indies, Joe Compton. Yes, hello everybody. Welcome to This Week in Indies. It is March 6th, 2022. We have an incredibly packed show for you, and really a lot of stuff that we're going to be talking about today. I mean, there's just like so much news that just came out this week, but something that I wanted to start with right off the bat, and I'm just going to take a couple minutes here to say goodbye to a maverick in our industry. He was not only was he an indie filmmaker, but he was also an indie self-published author, and so he did it long before any of us were even around, and then long before indie publishing even existed. He is the creator of the Cinema of Transgression, and his name was Nick ZEDD, and he passed away last week, of course, but I wasn't here last week, so I wanted to pay my respects and tribute to a man who, for a lot of you who probably have never heard of Nick or don't know of Nick, I had a distinct pleasure of being at a screening of some of his films. He did a lot of short films, and he pioneered a movement. He was a maverick. He pioneered phrases that xenomorpheus was something that he pioneered, and he was somebody who really stuck it to this established system. And I would venture to say, anybody out there who writes erotica, who has written or has filmed explicit scenes, you have this man to thank for it, because he made that mainstream. He was one of the people who was one of the first people to publish erotica, to put out films that kind of bucked the trend. He's mentioned in Cassavetes films. He was paid tribute to in a Tarantino film. So he passed away, and he'll be sadly missed. And so I just wanted to give my respects to the indie maverick and pioneer of Nick ZEDD. And there you go. All right. So when we bring out the old, when we say goodbye, we say hello. And I just wanted to personally, before we get started, welcome the newest member to the indie community. And I hope that I hope I pronounce this right, because I don't want to screw this up. This guy is obviously, we want to welcome him and bring him in and let him know how much we're behind him and and love that he's taking a risk and going out there. I mean, we're really excited for him. And Brandon Sanderson, did I say that right? Well, it's kind of hard to screw that name up, right?
It's a pretty long name.
I think that's the name, right? But anyway, yes, we're very happy to welcome him to our community. And I know, all kidding aside, the polarizing idea that happened earlier this week, he dropped a giant bombshell on his fans and mentioned that he, during the pandemic, written 4 books. Obviously,
5. He wrote 5 books.
One's a novella, though, right?
Yeah.
Four's
One's a novella, so it's only like 10,000 words or 10,000.
You're right. And so, yes, and he's doing it all on his own, through Kickstarter, and that has kind of sparked some, polarization amongst the community. I could not get away from it for the last 2 days on both my Facebook and Twitter feed. It was all over the place, and it was, there was all kinds of different, arguments and talks about it and interesting things about it. So I just think that we have to address it. It has to be talked about here. So we're going to talk about it very quickly and very, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time, because we do have a really fun topic that we can really make some fun of, some really, really interesting people who made some really stupid claims. But we'll get to that in a moment. But I just wanted to afford everybody the opportunity. Let's do this. Let's introduce everybody first. I didn't do that, so let's do that first, and then we'll get to the opportunity of talking to Mr. Brandon Sanderson. I'll commit that to memory at some point. All right, Nikki, why don't you start us off?
Hi, my name is Nikki Nelson Hicks, and I'm a writer of a lot of different genres: speculative fiction, horror, some sci-fi, some steampunk, murder mysteries, whatever. Anything that pretty much gets a person killed, I'm all for. And yeah.
Awesome. All right, Karina.
Hi everyone, Karina Kantas here. I'm an author of 14 books. These are 2 of my latest that have come out: Broken Chains, Road Rage, dark romance, if you like that. And as Joe said earlier, erotic scenes, very explicit. Thank you to Mr. Nick D for that. And I'm a podcaster, YouTuber, booktuber. I also host the Artist First Radio network, the show Author Assist. And I also run Author Assist, which helps authors with their marketing and promotion. And I'm so happy to be here.
Nice to have you. All right, Anita.
Hi, I'm Anita Stewart, AF Stewart. I write fantasy, horror, poetry. Now have a sci-fi serial, and basically all things dark and stabby.
Dark
and I also
stabby.
write. I also host 2 podcasts, Between the Pages and Words to Kill.
Awesome, welcome. We'll have a little bit of an announcement on Words to Kill next week. But actually, I should probably do it this week since you're here. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, Jim.
I am Jim Nettles. I write science fiction, urban fantasy, a bit of horror, a bit of contemporary, a bit of this, that, and the other. I also write nonfiction, articles, entrepreneurship, privacy, all kinds of fun stuff. I am one of the founders for Continual, the online convention, where we're doing programming every week. I am founder of Author Essentials, where we do business workshops for creatives. We share a lot of that stuff, and I do a lot of work with the Speculative Fiction Academy, where I'm the business director. And currently I am sitting gloriously enough in the middle of the field where we're getting set up for Scottish games in a couple of weeks.
Nice. I was going to tell everybody, no, you did not loot a Best Buy back there.
No, I did not loot a Best Buy. Those are actually empty boxes that have other crap to come out here for. I am not on the run. I am not I am not currently a fugitive, but there's still time today.
The day is early.
The day is early.
All right, Megan.
I am Megan Morgan. I am the author of the Sentinel series, the first of which is The Altered Wake, the second of which is The Altered Rise, that will be out later this year. I write all kinds of other stuff too, that hopefully will see the light of day at some point. And I might as well just fess up that if you get me started, I will go off on feminist rants just all the time. It's my specialty.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure we're somewhere along the line it's gonna spark. So
you never know what might trigger it, and it could last for a couple hours.
All right. Well, then you won't be offended when I mute you, and because I do only have a certain amount of time here, so
Gotcha.
I apologize. I'm just gonna apologize in advance.
There's a time and a place.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. So you know what? Just go. Just say what you got to say. Let's get it out there and get this out of our way and move on to the fun that we're supposed to be having. Maddie says hello. Mark Shaw says hello. And so,
Can I go first?
Yes, Karina, you can go
All
first.
Right. Thank you. So I just heard about this man. I've forgot his name already because I don't know who he is. I haven't read his books. All I know is he's a very popular author of fantasy, and I think he's published with Tor, which, for those that don't know, is one of the biggest publishers of fantasy books. Now, he's so well known with his fantasy books that he's what we will call a bestseller author and makes lots and lots of money. What he's gone and done is decided to go indie, but that's fine. If he wants to go indie, we don't have a problem with that. The problem that the indie community have with him is that he started a Kickstarter campaign to help him pay for his publishing his indie book. Now, it is expensive to publish, to pay the editor, a formatter, a cover, all the marketing, everything. It costs money. I've never done a Kickstarter. I've paid for it out of my hard-earned cash. I've never asked people for money to be able to publish my own books. This guy had the nerve to ask and made something like, I don't even know what the amount is now. It's absolutely ridiculous that people would give him that money when he's a best-selling author already. It's ridiculous that he had the nerve to ask people for the money when he's a best-selling author. So I'm pissed about that. I say great to all the other indies that do Kickstarters. And I hope that he feels so embarrassed about what he's done that he helps others that are doing Kickstarters. Just hand a little bit of that cash over to people that really need it.
Okay, I'm going to rebuttal that.
Okay, so
I know you will.
Because this
let me
isn't an indie publishing thing. It isn't. Plain and simple. It's a fan event. Okay? Brandon Sanderson is only giving these books that he's independently publishing to the Kickstarter supporters. Nobody else is getting them.
Nobody.
So this is a fan event. Fans are coming and paying for the privilege of getting the book, which they would anyway. Because if you look at the first tier, the ebooks or whatever, their price, I think, was like $40 for the 4 books, which is a reasonable price for his books. And all the other tiers get extra stuff. They get swag. They get fancy print thingies or whatever. I didn't
T-shirts.
I didn't really look at what he was offering, but he's offering these stuff. So they are paying him for the stuff. He's not asking them for money. They're just paying him for the stuff, and he's going to be giving it to them. The fact that 70,000 people went over there and paid him $20 million is just a testament to the fact that they love Brandon Sanderson.
Disgusting.
Oh, well.
actually, hang on.
And actually, indie
I'm
authors should be paying attention to what he's doing, because what he did is a marketing
Brilliant
play.
Brilliant. I'm sorry. I never knew this guy, didn't know anything about this guy. So we did this. I had to go do all the research. This guy, he has 339,000 subscribers to his YouTube. He has 300,000 subscribers to his Twitter and 16K on his Brandon Shorts on TikTok. So he has a fan base. This guy, brilliant marketing. So he does. He have all these fans. he's going to get a couple of bucks. I think it's brilliant. I think what he's done is he created his platform by using traditional publishing, made his platform. Now he has books that he wants to publish, but he wants to do it himself. He doesn't want to have to go under whatever the traditional publishing wants him to do. So he can do whatever he wants. He can put filigree on these things. He can put like pop-ups in these things if he wants to. He can do whatever he wants to because he is free, which is what independent publishing is all about, being free and not under the thumb of traditional publishing who won't let you do things. If you own the money, you can do whatever you want. This guy is rich. He is his net worth is $6 to $8 million. But he's got fans. I went on all the things and listened and watched all of his fan videos. They love him. When he did the whole, I have to come forward, I have to come clean video where he talked about the Kickstarter, which is brilliant marketing. This guy shows graphs. He shows all the things he's going to show you what he's going to get. So you really know you're going to get this stuff because Kickstarter does have a bit of a dark history of people giving tons of money to people and then getting absolutely jack shit in return. This guy, he's going to give it to you. I think it's brilliant marketing, but I'm just looking at it at a very, capitalistic viewpoint. I don't know the guy. I did buy the first book. You do? See, I bought the first book.
I've met him several times. But I mean, so here's the deal. And Karina, so for everybody I've watched that is throwing an objection about the amount of money, it's not a whole lot of money. I mean, I know from an author standpoint, we go, oh, that's 30 million. From an author standpoint, 30 million is a lot of money. For a business, it's not. And so keep in mind, he's not going to go pocket 30 million. Let's say he's pocketing 20% and he pockets 6 million. That's a nice chunk of change. However, you also have to look and understand all the things that Brandon has done for the writer community. He is one of the hosts for one of the Sci-Fi Writer podcasts. He does a lot of stuff in the writer community. Number two, if what we're mad about is success because you're looking at how much was earned, nobody made anybody go do this. He created something specifically for his fans, and people responded. He originally was hoping to get 1 million. The fact that it has exploded into the largest Kickstarter in history so far, good for him. Because money at that point, when you're looking at money from the standpoint of I'm just trying to make a living and get stuff along, at a certain point, money it's a tool. And it allows you to do other things. It allows you to do more. And if Brandon takes that money and goes and spends it on a brand new grand estate that no one ever sees Brandon again, he has that right. If he spends it because he's investing it back into the writer community, all for that too. At the end of the day, he's running a successful business and he's using indie techniques to do it. Proves there are ways to make things work if you put in the time and the work. Now, is that mean anybody's going to walk out and do a 30 million Kickstarter tomorrow? No.
I just want to be clear about two things. Okay, it's the second largest Kickstarter in history. There was $1 billion one that was done by some tech company.
The largest book Kickstarter, yes.
It is, yeah. It's the largest entertainment Kickstarter in history.
Right.
But the one that was number one is like 24 billion or something like that.
Whoa,
which is crazy.
It for?
It's like some tech company thing that they were. It's like some smart watch or something like that. And currently, I'm on the page as we speak. He's got 24.5 million. Goal actually just went up.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing on weekends, watching the numbers go up. It's really fun.
And he has 103,000 backers right now.
Yeah, and he's got more. He's got more subscribers and more fans. It
keeps going up. So, I mean, literally, it's going up by the second. So.
Oh yeah, he has so many fans.
And it's not that it's that video he did.
It's really good.
Yeah, watch that video. That's how you do a marketing video.
That's how you do it.
It's the controversy that's making him popular now. Now with all the bad press. Bad press is good press. He's talked about by everyone and he's everywhere, and that's bringing in more money for him. So he's very, very clever. I think he's very clever doing it that way. Bad press is good press, and everyone knows his name. Everyone knows his name who didn't know him before. Everyone knows who he is now, and that's a brilliant way of doing it.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah,
I
let
think
me
that
let
ultimately, here's
I mean,
here's
yeah.
the encouraging thing that I think that we can take from this is that, well, number one, he only asked for $1 million, which is a very reasonable sum to publish 4 books when you
Yes.
count marketing and all of that. He did not ask for the enormous amount of money that he is receiving. However, he is receiving this enormous amount of money because he has spent years developing a following amongst his fans. This did not come out of nowhere. And this is also not necessarily your standard person who has been published by one of the big publishing companies. This is someone who has made face-to-face connections with people for years. They are passionate. And here's the best thing about the whole situation is that you can look at this and you can see that if you are willing to go out there and make those connections, you will have readers. People are willing to take the time and the attention to read his work. Then they're also willing to give money in order to have more of it. That is, I mean, I think that so often we feel like as indie writers, like it is so hard to get people's attention. Here is proof with this person who has gone out and made those connections that it is possible. The audience is there. And if you, I would encourage everyone to go and like, yeah, I understand that maybe it's giving him more money, but I would absolutely encourage everyone to go read some of his work. What is he doing that you aren't?
Yes. And teach me Obi-Wan. That's what I've been thinking.
What is being done here and how he has cultivated this. Because if we as a community learn from each other and support each other, we're only going to create more readers and more passion among them. And I think that like so much of this explosion has to do with years and years of work that he's put into it. That's my impression based off of what I've seen. And I think that's a really key thing to take away from it.
Yeah, I mean, they asked him to finish the Wheel of Time series for a reason. So
right,
yeah,
he is a good writer. I'm enjoying his book, and I don't like fantasy, but I'm enjoying it.
I'm sorry, that was one very long sentence. I only said I was going to do one sentence. That was a
good sentence. It was well done. Clear, success.
No, that was a mic drop.
Boom.
No, yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah, please take a breath, please. But I will say one thing about this, and then we'll move on. And by the way, hello, Alicia. Nice to see you. It's always great to have you here. But I will say this one thing about it, and it's about the community of Kickstarter more than it is about Brandon Sanderson. And so the community of Kickstarter has cultivated itself amongst the indie community and have gathered together, especially in the comic community. The indie comic community is so supportive. I mean, it's hard for an indie comic not to get fully funded because the entire community rallies around it and puts it together and makes it happen. And they all share. They all share everything that they do, and then they support one another. They take their whatever they make and they put it back into another indie. Now, I'm not saying that for Brandon. Brandon does whatever he wants with his money, and I'm never going to fault anybody for making a living and doing what they're doing. And I think, yes, it is wonderful the amount of things that he's brought to that, to the idea of it and everything you all said. It's amazing. The one thing I will say though is if you're going to be on a platform where this is happening, where there's an embracement of indie community going together, and you want to be a part of that, please be a part of that. And the way you be a part of that is not giving money to other communities. We can't all do that. But what do? We share posts. We share smaller, struggling fantasy authors that are struggling, that only have $100 in their fund. If he shared that post on his Facebook account, his followers would flock to that idea, right? And that's all he has to do. And that's the only thing that I would suggest. Now, he doesn't have to do any of that. It's on him. And I understand he's wonderful to talk to. He's very approachable and everything like that. I just think that with great power comes great responsibility sometimes. And I think that you have You have to look at that a little bit. And so I would implore him just to look at that. If that's something that he thinks he can do for this community and be a part of this community, I think that would be amazing. That would be a wonderful thing. But if he doesn't, that's fine too. I mean, look, it is what it is. We're gonna survive no matter what, and we're all gonna do something. And I think to Anita and Megan's point, you all can learn something from what he's doing, and I think that's fucking amazing. You're getting a master class in marketing. Why not absorb it? Why not absorb it? Take it in. Take what you can from it, and you may not be able to apply what he's giving you, but you may be able to modify it. That's the great thing about us. We are adaptive. We're very, very good at adapting something that we see work and make it work for us. Yeah, everybody on this panel's done that. So
can I add one more thing?
Okay. Author Will White has already done that. He actually took the Brandon Sanderson video, made a parody of it for his own Kickstarter.
Awesome. That's fantastic. I love that.
There's two things I want to say is, number one, definitely watch and learn, because I will assure you, even Brandon Sanderson was not prepared for this level of response and the infrastructure it's going to take to fulfill everything now, because that's the next lesson is this wasn't, I just pocketed a bunch of money and go away. He's now got a lot of shit to fulfill. I mean, the infrastructure it's going to take to fulfill and deliver this is tremendous. And so that's the first thing, is looking at somebody who's got the ability to do, deliver, and fulfill. The second thing is look at the fact that, yes, he took the time to build and create, and he has resources to build something like this. But I think it's also worth watching what he's done to learn from it, because the publishing industry is changing and starting to learn and adapt. Expect to see the traditional publishing industry grabbing onto those things that work.
That's something that I want to point out, that this shows the publishing industry that, quite frankly, it is the writer who has the power. They're the face. They're the power. They're the one who brings the fans who buy the stuff. I mean, your average fan doesn't give a shit about the publishing or the publisher. They're not going, wow, what's Tor got out today? Exactly. No, they look for the face. They look for the writer. And this kind of gives the publishing industry to understand that we're the ones.
We're the ones with the power.
With the power. And I mean, my very first publishing contract was 80-20. I got 20%. 80-20. That's bullshit. Yeah. And I was young, I was stupid, and I was just happy to get something out there. Yeah. Now, I would never do 80-20. You insane? They did nothing. I did everything. Yeah. So yeah.
And I would also encourage everybody, if you don't know about his YouTube channel, he teaches a class.
He does.
He teaches a business class on writing and on actual fantasy writing. And I learned so much. He talked about there was a video he posted where he did a class about how to open a fantasy book. And I was like, holy shit, that is like life-changing. It was like a life-affirming for me. Having written a 120,000 word fantasy book now, I was like, wow, I went back and changed my entire beginning because of what he said. And so go and check out his channel even. I mean, he doesn't need any more fucking subscribers. Subscribe to my channel first. But
I have.
But he does give a lot to the people that follow.
Yes, he does. He does. And for free. It's all for free.
It's all for free.
And that's fucking awesome.
That was one of his conditions for teaching the class at, I believe it was either MIT or Harvard. I forget which it was.
It's Harvard.
On business, on business for writers.
The one that he's seen on the one that he has on his YouTube channel is Harvard. So
yeah, and that was one of the conditions, was he could put it up for free. So in terms of looking at the things that he does with his fan base and for people to learn from him, it is somebody that I'm not gonna, I mean, even if it was insert your favorite author you hate or creator you hate here, I'm not going to take anything away from them if they're making money. But in terms of people who have structured it and have given a lot for the business, take and learn.
I am.
By the way, Ron wanted to point out to you, Megan, that it was a classic run-on sentence.
I am so good at those. Thank you.
And Maddie needs some more coffee. Maddie. Maddie, wait till we get to our real topic. Then you'll really need some coffee.
I did no research for the real topic, so I'm going in virgin.
Damn. Ron, Jim asked if you were wearing a tux. If you couldn't hear that, so we'll see what his response
He's
is.
always
But,
wearing a tux.
all right,
So, yeah.
all right. That's good. We spent a half hour on that. I think that's perfect. I think we all are in agreement. We all, welcome to the community, Mr. Brandon Sanders. We'll get that right sooner or later. Sanderson. Is it Sanderson or Sanderson? I don't know. I'm sure when he comes on. I'm sure when he comes on my show, we'll ask him that. We'll ask him to pronounce it correctly. But Ron says, of course he is. He's a goddamn farmer. I'm not
a goddamn farmer.
All right. So let's get to some fun, everybody. So about 10 years ago, for people who don't know, a group of experts got together and decided that they were going to change your perception of the publishing industry by making bold predictions on what exactly is going to happen in 2022. Book Riot got a hold of this list and decided to publish it on their site. And if you aren't cracking up by halfway through it, I don't know if you have a pulse, to be honest with you, because it is fucking hilarious and it is amazing. And I just wanted to see. Let's start with who thinks. What do you all think is the most outrageous claim that you read there that just you couldn't believe that somebody would have the gall to predict that? Did anybody have one that they stood out to them?
Paperback books, the demise of the paperback books.
Yeah.
I hold my hand up being a dumb shit because when this came out, when the Kindle came out, I thought paperbacks are going to die. It is that ebooks will take over. There'll be no more libraries except for the classics and the encyclopedias and what have you, and things like that. And paperback books would die because ebooks would take over. That was my claim. First time I ever saw a Kindle, I was like, what the fuck's this? And I said, I'm not touching it. I'm never buying one. I'm never reading from one.
Well, people will always need that. I'm sorry. People always need that tactile bit because I will. I'll buy Kindle, but I'll also buy paperback because I like to make notes and stuff, or I just like to be able to it's a different experience for me versus Kindle versus actually holding it and making notes. And because you're a writer, so we read like writers.
Yeah.
So it's just I need that sometimes. So no, I'll do both. Also, I don't trust Kindle. I mean, my Kindle dies in the middle of a book. Then what do? I gotta wait 12 hours for the bloody thing to. No, fuck that. I have this. This will never die on me. So
I will say having to be able because I have to do Kindle because I would have books stacked to the ceiling if I was doing paperback.
I do have books stacked to the
ceiling. So I have to do Kindle, and I will say okay. Well, I will say to Nikki's point, this fucking device is holds the worst charge I've ever seen of any device in the history of devices. It like dies literally 5 hours. It's like the worst. Yeah. And I have the newest one. So
that's why I use the Kindle app, not the Kindle.
I feel like
you can use it on your computer or your tablet.
The old Kindles lasted forever, it seems.
They did. These don't.
The old ones that you could read for days on them.
Yeah.
I had it for years, Megan, my first Kindle. I had it for years. I never got a new one. I had the first one ever invented. Had it for years. Haven't bought another one now, though, because I'm on the app, just like Anita.
And Amazon is taking a page out of the cell phone industry and decided that, hey, we're not going to update your software. If you have an older one, tough shit. You better learn how to use it, or you're going to mine is almost obsolete. They're about to kill mine, and I think it's 8 or 9, whatever. I have the newest one, and they're talking about. I read an article the other day talking about they're going to kill it in about a year, and I would have to get another one. So thank you, Amazon.
I hate that.
But
they did. I mean, I was looking at the list. They did talk about bookstores, the demise of the bookstore, and that's true. Barnes and Noble did not come rising up like a phoenix.
That is true.
And it's very sad.
However, like maybe my experience is like a little bit different. I live in Baltimore. There are so many independent bookstores here. It's absolutely incredible.
Wonderful.
And we really, like, you would have thought that would be something we would have lost during the pandemic, and it did not happen. The bookstores are still here. It's not the same story when I like go to Fairmont, West Virginia, which is where I grew up. There's none.
There's none here. There's a Barnes and
In
Noble
fact,
10 minutes
in
away.
fact,
That's it.
the indie bookstores posted record profits for the first time in 5 years this past quarter. So,
I think that's like really encouraging that we haven't lost bookstores. I've also seen almost all of the bookstores in Baltimore are offering more than just books. It's usually like a bookstore and a cafe, or it's like a bookstore and an event space, or it's also a bookstore and like a record shop. But I mean, I think we're actually really fortunate right now that like Gen Z is actually like really into analog. Like they love their speakers. They're like old school stuff. They like love vinyl. They like love books. Like Gen Z is kind of like here for it. And I love that.
As long as you send it to them, they like it when they get it for free. They don't like to pay for it. They like to
money.
That's not entirely true.
All right, I'll get off Gen Z for a moment here, but I think personally, I think the most outlandish one is the most ridiculous one, which is the one that died the fastest, which was interactive publishing. That was like,
I feel like it's such an interesting idea. I can understand why, but here's the thing: is like a book like properly written is already interactive.
Right.
Like it's already, and that's part of the reason why I think sometimes we have such a difficult time like selling, or sometimes we feel like we have a difficult time getting an audience to like invest, is because we're already asking people to come to the table and like bring with them their time, their energy, and also their imagination, their life experiences. Like those are all things that like come up when you're reading a book. It's already an interactive experience.
So what did they think an interactive experience was? What was their definition?
Well, that was the meta tagging where it would have like links where you would hyperlinks where you.
I got time for that. Who's got time for that?
Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing I will say is that they tried to introduce the technology when it wasn't ready for it, but I think the next generation of it, which is going to be much more about augmented technologies for creating the immersive experience, is what's coming next. And I think
that's going to accompany the audiobook a lot more. Right. I think the audiobook is starting to become more of like a movie experience with music, with a music soundtrack.
It's like a radio play. You've got the sound effects, you've got music, and voice actors. Real voice actors, not just someone talking.
Yeah, I mean, I stood in a demo where you were wearing Oculus Rift. You're reading the book, but it puts, you can run sound around you, colors to immerse to tie to the tone of it, using tagging throughout the book. So you're still reading, but it's creating visual imagery and things like that augment that environment.
Oh my God.
Haven't you got to press buttons? If you've got to press buttons and go to links to get that, surely that's taking you out of the story.
No.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just take an eighth of mushrooms and read a book.
I'm just thinking, I'm exhausted as an ADHDer. It would completely overwhelm me, and I would actually probably get physically ill. All that shit coming at me, I don't need that. I go to a book to go into a book to get away from all that.
Well, and I think that's going to be part of what's interesting is how that's going to develop, because it's right now the mock-ups I've seen done for it were done for three things. Number one which is kind of standard books reading, that immersive experience going through, watching, reading it. The second one was children's books, because it pulled like characters into the immersive experience while you still watch the pages, had some motion,
that's not
had
frightening.
some action.
That would be
that's simply getting a whole generation ready for this. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Could you imagine Barney just running at you? I mean, come on.
3D.
Now I will tell you.
Okay. I now have images of a grimdark or a horror book in immersive experience.
Oh
That no. Yeah, it's like that severed head coming right at you.
Just roll right to your feet.
Yeah. Although erotic, we're talking like porn. That's some serious. That'd be interesting.
That's
called porn. Yeah. Okay.
So, think
Go
about
ahead, Jim.
what meta means and Meta's company and where they're trying to money out a quarter of their value. All I'm going to say is Meta.
Meta. I'm looking into that.
Meta.
I think it
Yeah.
sounds like if you do it, like if you really like do it properly, then you're almost talking about like a whole new medium. It would be something like,
Yes,
I
it
guess
is.
it would be difficult to call something like that a book necessarily. But I mean, I think that, you know, the potential for interactive, I mean, if you're a video game player, and you've ever had the experience of playing a video game with a really incredible, excellent story that like really is moving, then you can understand the appeal of something like that. Because I mean, I've had some of the most incredible storytelling experiences of my life within books, but I've also had some pretty amazing ones, you know, playing video games. So
That's a great point. I love that.
That's a good point.
The title though of one of these was get ready for the bookstore massacre, which is just like,
Yes.
okay.
That happens.
What was that guy smoking?
I know.
Well, we saw it in the chain
That's
bookstores.
clickbait. So yeah. But yeah, but it did kind of happen. And then with the pandemic, which of course in 2012 they couldn't even conceive of.
How about for this as the ultimate irony? It's the first loss that Amazon has ever suffered was actual, you know, book and more. They're taking down. It was
they're
earlier
shutting
this
down all of their in-person bookstores.
Yeah, because what a mess that was. I was reading all about how people were having so much trouble. Like the other thing that was happening was people were going into there thinking it was a Walmart. Like I could order different like other things off of Amazon from there, and said, no, this is a book. So it says on it says it on the title, Amazon Books, and you're walking in there going, "Can I get a mop?"
Yeah.
What is wrong with people?
Yeah. Amazon and Dollar Store.
But yeah, that was one of the issues. The other issue was that people were having so much trouble finding actual books that they wanted. Like Amazon handpicked the books that were in the store,
right? They handpicked them,
and it wasn't what anybody was actually buying. So it was weird that happened. And then, you know, I mean, to be fair, the pandemic kind of derailed a lot of their plans because they just opened right before that happened. But still, it's interesting that that's happened to Amazon, you know.
Well, you know,
it sounds like they were trying to provide that indie bookstore experience, but like as Amazon, and it's just that's not what you go to Amazon for. Like that's you don't go to Amazon to like, you know, browse shelves and get recommendations from like the staff. That's just not
bingo, yeah. But Amazon, they try everything, don't they? As soon as someone's done something, they copy. If they have an idea, they'll give it a go. Kudos to them for trying, but you know,
they can afford the loss.
Yeah.
So some of these, some of these aren't as outrageous as I first thought. Then I guess, but
not really. No.
You know, there was this talk about the erotic books becoming mainstream and that idea, and that kind of happened a little bit with 50 Shades, but
not if Amazon has their way. It's like the word erotica is secretly banned from Amazon. Never say my bloody book here. Okay, it's called Undressed. All right, it's called Undressed, and it's got a sort of naked woman, and it's got nothing to do with sex, erotic. It's bloody romance and horror and science fiction, short flash fiction. The reason it's called Undressed is because I'm giving myself more to my fans. I'm opening myself up. There's my own experiences in here, my memories and everything. So I'm going naked for my fans, but the word undressed, even though I put it in the correct categories when I uploaded the book, well, Amazon decided that it was full of erotic poems.
Oh, no.
And so automatically my book then has erotic short stories, erotic poems because of the title.
Amazing.
Did you talk to them about removing the categories?
I've told them, yes.
Okay,
told them.
yeah, all right. You're currently in a fight. Are you? Been there, done that.
They go back and then I go and check again and they've been changed again. I think it's automative computer that
automated.
does it, you know.
Maybe put a subtitle on the book page, like speculative poetry or speculative fiction, whatever it is. That might help, because you don't have to actually have a subtitle on your book cover, so you wouldn't have to change the book cover.
Yeah.
So it might help if you put the subtitle in.
Just like undressed. Straight away it's erotica because of undressed.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's the question that I have about the whole erotica thing is like, isn't erotica already like one of the largest selling genres? Like it already is mainstream. This idea of like predicting that it will be the largest selling genre is romance novels.
Romance, yeah.
By like a lot, not by like a little bit, but like a huge massive amount. So like I get, maybe are they talking like BDSM like erotica?
I think they're talking about it being a little bit more, because romance was tailored to kind of like, you know, happily ever after kind of. They're talking about it being a little bit darker, a little bit more graphic. I feel
like these people haven't read romance novels though.
It's pretty obvious.
That's somehow like a change to the genre, because like
I don't think anybody.
I have a lot of female friends. I read a lot of romance novels during high school. They were really dark and like very violent. Like most of them.
I don't think any of them have ever read a book. Period. I don't think any of them have ever read a book ever that were on this list.
You know what the problem is?
That strikes me as a particularly odd prediction, because I'm like, it's already the biggest. Like, what do you mean mainstream? Like, do you just mean like someone other than women? Or okay. I could go on a feminist rant right now.
When they publish their book, they won't use the word erotica. They will not put their book in the category erotic or whatever. It comes under contemporary romance. It is not contemporary romance, but that is what all the erotic authors are using. So these authors that are writing contemporary romance, people automatically assume it's got some dirty shit in it, you know. But they can't use the word erotica on Amazon because it's secretly banned, you know. You just can't use that word. So they get away with it by putting it down as contemporary romance.
Anybody have any words about the Amazon adopting the EPUB format? That just happened, right?
Oh, yeah, that's weird.
Not exactly. They allow you to upload EPUBs, but they still have the Mobi format.
Yeah.
But why?
Hi, Angela.
Because they invested a lot of money in their own format, and they're too stubborn to change.
Yes, well, yeah.
No, but why EPUB? Why EPUBs all of a sudden? Why
because everybody was complaining. Everybody was complaining about the uploading
of the Mobi.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they just said, okay, we're tired of everybody complaining. I guess I don't know, but yeah, because you can upload EPUBs or do it through their Kindle Create, which is what I do.
Give me the smut.
Well, I mean, it always benefits Amazon to encourage more people to publish with them because they make more money. So the more that they open themselves up to like more platforms, then it just means more people publishing and they make more money.
More money.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's surprising they didn't do it sooner.
You know what also is surprising I didn't do it sooner was the Indie Connection. And now we're going to do it right here. So, God, we were just talking about erotica and I'm just opening my mouth. Here's the Indie Connection, everybody. Enjoy it. And I promise you, it's not smutty at all. All right. It's very, very tame. Very, very nice.
Don't use that word.
But anyway, here you go. Here's the Indie Connection and we'll be right back.
Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another Indie Connection. And today, I would like to tell you about some indie books that you might love if you're a fan of Wicked As You Wish by Ren Chapeko. The first book I have for you is called Winterglass by Benjamin Shreed Young Cow. The city-state Sirapirat once knew only warmth and monsoon. When the Winter Queen conquered it, she remade the land in her image, turning Sierra Parat into a country of snow and unending frost. But an empire is not her only goal. In secret, she seeks the fragments of a mirror whose power will grant her her deepest desire. At her right hand is General Lusad, who bears a mirror shard in his heart. As loyal to Winter as she is plagued by her past as a traitor to her country. Tasked with locating other glass bearers, she finds one in Noir, an insurgent who's forged herself into a weapon that will strike down the Queen. To earn her place in the Queen's army, Noir must enter a deadly tournament where the losers' souls are given in service to Winter. To free Sierra Parat, she has prepared to make sacrifices. Those she loves, herself, and the complicated bond slowly forming between her and Lusad. If the splinter of glass in Noir's heart doesn't destroy her first. The second book I have for you is called Borrowed Magic by Ava Reese. Adelaide has a penchant for mishap, but this one left her with magical powers. Adelaide is kind, generous, and probably cursed. After several failed betrothals and a history of being too near disaster, her father banishes her to the distant village of Cabbage. At 18, Adelaide is looking at spending the rest of her days in castle ruins with a grumpy old wizard. But her life gets upended again when an accident leaves her endowed with magical powers. The problem is she has no idea how to use them, and no one is willing to teach her except a ghost who only appears in her dreams. Adelaide wants to prevent marauders from destroying Cabbage and find happiness for herself, the wizard, and her new pet griffin. But trouble is never far behind, and Adelaide must use her magic carefully before she loses everything again. The third book I have for you is called Golden Curse by M. Lynn. A curse, a hidden identity, a dangerous love. At 10 years old, Parasinet Basili fled the palace of Gaul for her life. Now at 18, she must find a way to return in order to obey a curse on her family line. The prince won't know who she is, not anymore, but she knows him and what he will do if he discovers her true name. Made to fight for her life to earn her place, she vows to find a way to break the curse no matter the cost. To the death. The words describing the upcoming tournament turn Prince Alexandra Doran's blood to ice. The last warrior standing will win a spot at his side. As he's thrust into the throne, forbidden magic, dangerous betrayals, and a complicated love could tear his reign apart. When the secret begins to unravel, will Alex stay true to the laws and traditions of Gaul, or will he give it all up for a woman who deceived him? And the last book I have for you is called Fog and Mist by Kelsey Engen. An usurper queen or a stolen throne. A princess imprisoned, enslaved, and believed dead by her people. A foreign prince searching for his sister. Each entangled in a curse that threatens all of the 7 kingdoms. Crown Princess Winterberry's stepmother will do anything to prevent her ascension, even if it means assassinating her. And on the eve of the princess's 21st birthday, Queen Blanche arrests Winterberry under false claims of treason. Although a long-standing prophecy proclaims death to anyone who kills a Canaan's royal, Blanche is determined to find a way. Step 1 goes off without a hitch. Auction off the true heir as an incognito slave and send her halfway across Canaan's with Blanche's most trusted huntsman. But on the other side of the 7 kingdoms, an enemy prince gambles his throne and his life crossing into Canaan's after his kidnapped sister. The farther he travels, the more entangled he becomes in Canaan's curse, the slavery underworld, and Princess Winterberry herself. Soon, even he doesn't realize how much more is at stake. Okay, that's all for me this week. I'll see you next week on the Indie Connection.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Thank you again, as always, to C.L. Cannon for another awesome Indie Connection. Incredible books, as always. Everybody go check those out. All the links are there. I have links for everybody here as well. I picked a book that I thought would, people should check out from each of these authors here. So go check those out as well. And I also have links to the article that we were talking about. And also, I wanted to mention, too, real quickly, that I do have a link. There is a GoFundMe page for Nick Zedd's family to pay for costs for they didn't make a lot of money doing what they did because they were indie. So if you guys feel inclined to help them out, there is a GoFundMe page that is currently up as well, and you can donate to that. I put the link in there as well. So I just wanted to mention that as well, that I did that, and I have everybody's links here. So go check everybody out here. And as I recover from the worst and most awkward segue I've ever had to the indie connection, we are here, and Maddie says Epub works better for her, and Karina wanted to mention that she hates the word, and I won't even say the word, Karina. I'll just put it out there.
The S word.
Smut.
S word.
Smut.
Damn you, Jim.
Like that's
always causing trouble, you. Yeah. Anyway, so all right, so I mean, we covered pretty much all the crappy predictions, and this article did mention that it only took a sum of the crappy predictions, that there's a ton of more of them out there. So I'm sure there was a lot of them out there. And I mean, we could talk about if you heard something that you thought was outlandish. If you want to mention that, that's fine. Does anybody here, I don't know, I'm not sure if I'll be around in 10 years, but I certainly will keep this video around. And if in 10 years, you all want to make a bold prediction right here, right now, I'm going to call you out on it. So, but if you feel inclined, if you feel froggy, you want to jump, please, by all means, let's hear some outlandish predictions you might have. But also, is there anything else out there that you saw that you thought about as how could somebody really make that prediction? And I'll tell you one of them, and it's not related to books, but it is a prediction that is kind of similar in the artist industry, and that is that movie theaters would die by this decade, and that hasn't been the case. In fact, it's kind of resurged the mainstream. It's actually killed the indie film marketplace, but it is researched the mainstream because people were clamoring to get the hell out of their houses.
Get the hell out of the house, yeah.
And so, I mean, movies are seeing record ticker tape. I mean, the Batman this weekend is going to destroy all of any record that happened, and it was pretty high to begin with. I mean, Black Widow blew everybody out. That was the first one that kind of was like, okay, everybody went to the theater to go see it kind of idea. And so, that was one that I thought was kind of ridiculous. Because I mean, as I think along the lines of holding, a book, an analog book in your hand, going to a movie theater for me, it was a life-changing experience. It was something that I really, really felt was like a part of my DNA. And so I will never let that die as long as I can help it. But, that's just me. But I know that a lot of people are having a lot more fun being able to stream it online, but whatever. That's just not my thing. So, but that being said, is anybody out there thinking about anything prediction-wise that you thought was a little weird or interesting?
I've got a 3-part prediction if you want it.
Yes,
All
please.
Right. The first part of it is that we're going to see how we treat intellectual property and ownership and copyright and all the rest of that is going to change a lot in the next 10 years. How we register, how we manage all the rest of that. I think that blockchain and those technologies are going to make a lot of major changes in how we manage, own, and distribute and license out our IP. The second part of it is I think we're going to see a continued shift, but I think we're going to see a lot more ways to distribute books and especially electronic media. I think we're going to see people experimenting with a lot more new media, some of which are going to fail spectacularly, but going to tell us a lot more about how we like to read and consume material. And I think that we're still going to see a lot of people that go realize, I want to hold that book in my hand. I want to have something physically on my library shelf that can't just disappear out of my Kindle because somebody decided it needed to. Mm-hmm. And the third part of it is I really predict that this is going to be where Elon Musk, I believe, has a real major way to compete with Amazon, because with the new automatons, I believe that they're going to roll those out, and they're going to be equipped with enough voices that they'll be able to perform out those books that we want to have read to us. We won't have to read audiobooks anymore. That Elon's new bots are going to hold the books for us and perform and act them out for us.
Bingo. Yeah, I predicted that audiobooks in the next 2 years is going to change dramatically, maybe even take over ebooks. I think that every month there's a new group that have started doing their own audiobook distribution or artificial voices, and we have narrators for you, and you will do royalty share. There's just more and more coming out, and I think in the next 10 years we're going to have a big change. Like you said, it's not just going to be sitting there listening to audiobooks. They're going to be played out. Something, this is going to be, like with dramatic music and the sound effects, like you say, they've started that already. And I think that within the next 10 years, we're going to see a huge shift with audiobooks, and it's going to be wild, I think.
Yeah, I think more and more authors are going to branch into direct sales as well, like directly off their websites or whatever like that as well. I see it coming in various groups I'm in, and I think it's going to just keep expanding.
I think that one prediction that I can definitely make for a decade from now is that being an indie artist of any kind is going to continue to be a difficult and constantly evolving space, because I think it always has been a challenging sort of area to exist in. And I think the vast majority of people who are artists and who are writers throughout the course of history have, it's usually been something that people have done on the side. And very fortunate few are able to have it as a profession. And I think at the same time that it's going to continue to be, incredibly valuable, because, when the pandemic hit, and anytime that, things get really dark and scary, people turn to the work of people who are passionate, don't necessarily make a lot of money doing it. And, I don't know entirely, I think that that's like one of the great challenges of being in this space, and also one of the great rewards when you have successes.
We know how every year they say that books are going to go away. No more books. The publishing industry is dying, yada, yada, yada. That's never going to happen. It's never going to happen, because human beings are a storytelling race, and we want stories constantly. We always have, we always will. It's ingrained in our myths, our DNA, just our lives. So we'll always need stories, and that's never going to go away. So no, don't worry about that.
All right. So here's my bold one for 10 years from now. I think that the reading of a book is going to become an interactive experience, in that you're going to be able to read the book as like we do right now with movies, like watch along parties. You're going to be able to do like an audiobook experience where everybody's listening to the same thing, and you have a Zoom call, or you have a thread, or you have a YouTube channel or whatever, where you are listening to the book and you're commenting and you're talking about it. You're talking about scenes, and you're giving your thoughts on reactions to what just happened, or something to that effect. Like you see these reaction videos to people watching episodes of The Mandalorian and things like that. I think the same thing is going to happen to books. I think books are going to evolve, because like Nikki said, we're natural storytellers. We need that immersive experience. And I think some authors are going to take advantage of that and be available for their fans to talk about the book. You may even see where you have an audiobook that has like an actual published work of somebody talking in like audio commentary. Like, so you're going to have, like, how DVDs and Blu-rays had audio commentary, and you could watch the movie with the filmmaker talking about how they made the scene or did that. I think you might see that with a book. You might be able to read a book and listen to an audio commentary at the same time, or vice versa, where you can figure out, what the author was thinking or talking about.
So you're going to be a deviant. It's going to be a deviant act to be able to read a book all on my own without everybody around me, because that to me just sounds like hell.
I just want to be able to do the competing author track and the editor track, going back and forth about why
that would be hilarious. I listen to that.
That would be great. But I think that's coming. I think there's going to be a lot more interaction, a lot more immersion within the community, because we're breaking down a fourth wall here. We're really, it's really not. It's not a secret, because so many people are doing hybrid. So many people are doing indie. If Brandon Sanderson comes aboard, I think that just opens the floodgates for anybody to come aboard, right? Yeah. See, I told you I would remember his name eventually. But so I think that's just the idea, right? So I think we are headed toward an immersive idea. And like Jim said, one of the powers of Brandon Sanderson, one of the things he's done for good, is that he's immersed himself with his audience, and that's paid off dividend. And so I think that is coming for a lot of authors. They're going to look at that and go, maybe I should reactivate my Twitter account. Well, maybe not that, but something along those lines. But
you think there'll ever be an author who will hire an actor to be their face? There's some authors that just aren't good. They're not good at putting on the show. So what if you're a great author but you can't put on the show?
I hope so.
You ruin this thing.
I would rather be talking to Tom Hanks than I would some of these authors. Let me tell you.
Well, the face swap is going to come in. Is that,
face swap.
See, you can come in, and we're going to now have professional actors portraying the authors, but wearing the author's face. So there'll be somebody less of an ass than I am. But they can wear.
Well, actors need jobs too, So yeah. I wondered about that. Okay.
All right. Well, let's go around the horn and tell everybody where we can find all of you at, and hopefully you haven't hired an actor to play you for this moment. But Jim, why don't you start us off? We'll go backwards this time. So Jim, tell everybody where they can catch you at.
Well, again, I am on the run. I am appreciative.
Send supplies, send money.
Send money, send supplies. My Kickstarter.
Jim has a Kickstarter out there.
You can find me at jamespnettles.com, authoressentials.net, authoressentialsworkshops.com. You can find some of the workshops over at the Speculative Fiction Academy. You can find me at Continual, of course, in Continual Convention, and, popping in and out on Facebook. There's a couple of new books coming out later this year. One that was supposed to be out this month, but, again, it's now apparently April or May of 2073 or something. I don't know. We'll wait and see what it is.
All right. Sounds good. All right, Anita?
You can find me on my website there on the screen, and on Twitter, on Facebook, and all the rest. There's a couple of my books. And next month, you can find me at CornCon, happening April 7th to 11th, run by the amazing Virginia McLean. So that's me.
Awesome. Cool.
Oh, yeah. I will slip that in. I will be at RavenCon, JordanCon, a number of other events that are coming up, doing some
People
workshops.
are just going to get sick of you.
I know. Really tired of me. All right, guys. I got to go back to setting stuff up. Good to see everybody. I'll stop interrupting now.
Bye, Jim.
Bye.
All right. Karina, you want to tell everybody where they can find you, please?
Yeah, well, you can find all my books on my social media, my website, Goodreads, everything on Linktree. And that's linktr.ee/Karina Kantas. And if you love SMUT, then check out these books. It's dark romance, so you can expect a lot of explicit sex scenes and some graphic violence, but you will absolutely love that. We've got dark mafia, we've got dark MC romance, so check these out, and thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Nikki?
Hi, Nikki Nelson Hicks. You can find my stuff on my little site right there. Or you can go to Amazon. All my stuff is there. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. I even have a little YouTube thingy, but it's not much. You can find me anywhere. These are two of my books. If you like Jim Butcher, these two have been compared to the Jim Butcher kind of stuff, which I didn't think of when I was writing it, but everyone says it reminds them of Jim Butcher. It's a Jake Ishton-Hedgie, the Accidental Detective. And that's about it, really. If you want me, you can find me.
Awesome. And I'm Joe Compton. This is Go Indie Now. Thank you for joining us. If you're first time here, welcome. Stay a while. Check out everything we're doing. We're about to unleash our spring programming, and we'll talk more about that next week. I will mention, since Anita's here, that along with our spring programming, finishing up the first season of Words That Kill, I have asked Anita to produce 2 new episodes. So we're going to have 2 extra episodes that we didn't have going into this week. So Anita's going to do that for me. And we're going to have a supersized last run of the first season of Words That Kill with Anita Stewart. So I'm real excited.
Nikki's going to be on
Yes.
one, by the way. So
Yes, Nikki's going to be on one there. So there you go. That's awesome. And yeah, so but while you're here, smash that like button, subscribe, do all those wonderful things that you do. And I have listened to all of you who've come back at me and said, I don't talk enough about me on this. So I am in the description. You can follow me on Twitter. My Twitter account is there on the description. I put my link in, and I put my link to my book. So the one book that I do have that you can buy right now is there in the description. It's called We the Moral Majority. You can read it as a standalone. It is a sequel, but it can be read as a standalone, I think, for the most part. So you can go get that if you really want to. It's there now. So there you go. And it will be there. I'll put it there every time. So, all right. So enjoy that. And enough of me yapping, enough of everybody else yapping, because it's time for the final 5 minutes. And that belongs to the one, the only, the awesome Miss Megan Morgan. Megan, it is all yours.
Thank you so much, Joe. So today I am going to be reading from my upcoming novel, The Altered Rise, which should be out this summer. So this is a small scene from the first chapter. And it's just a little taste of what's to come. They were always in rock, which made a certain amount of sense. They were usually very well hidden. William had watched Tristan clear a lot of bramble away before he could move in to open the door. They'd developed a rhythm over the summer. William found the locations of bunkers and labs. Tristan swooped in to help him gain access to them. Then William spent weeks trying to figure out how to either find something useful or find the next bunker. It had been a very long, frustrating summer for William. A black panel stood beside the door, just like in Lab 9. William pushed his hand against the surface. It glowed green, and the door slid open. The sand he tracked in each morning lay on the floor. The walls were a cool blue rather than the white of Lab 9. William wasn't sure if that meant something or if it was an aesthetic choice. Either way, the pale shade was a welcome change from the red-hued landscape outside. The white room he walked into was small, with an activation panel set into one wall, and many screens set above it. William dropped his bag and put his hands on the panel. It glowed green, and a voice drifted down from over his head to remind him who was in charge here. Welcome to Historic Database 5, Subject 732. How are you this morning? Me, I'm fine. How are you enjoying your last hours? The voice was quiet for a long time. Whatever it was that did the thinking had trouble with sarcasm and vague hints. You still intend to remove the data core? You got it, unless of course you'd like to give me access to the information I need. You are free to ask any question you like. William laughed. What is this place? You're an historical archive for the Skylark program. And can you tell me any of that history? It paused. In the silence, William could almost hear gears turning, cylinders pounding, pathways coming to dead ends. Then, I'm sorry, but I'm afraid you don't have access to that information. Yeah, and where could a 24 run their activation sequence? Cameron couldn't do much other than see other altered when her powers were dormant. The serious stuff was one-time use only, a single life-altering beacon in the darkness, impossible to reignite until they found another lab where she could activate them once again. William saw the wisdom in this. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid you don't have access to that information. That's where you and I have a problem. I need to know these things. It was impossible to tell a machine that he burned for answers to 1,000 questions, why they might make a difference. He knew if he'd only had more pieces of this puzzle that had become the predominant thing in his mind, he would not have ended up holding his sister's lifeless body in his arms as snow drifted down into her blank eyes. He took his hand off the panel, slung his bag over his shoulder. You won't leave here with that data core, said another voice. William stopped at the door. He shuddered and the hairs on his arms lifted. This wasn't the archive talking. That was an entirely new voice, speaking in a human rhythm that the machine simply couldn't achieve. Who are you? William asked. He breathed in the stillness. The only sound was the creaking of his overburdened backpack straps, the small gurgle of his stomach digesting breakfast. I'd hate to lose another one. Your set has potential. William stared at the ceiling. Cameron had said they were being watched, their lives interfered with on a level they couldn't comprehend. He'd wanted her to be wrong. Who are you? And that is a small snippet from the next book. If you want to know what's going on in that particular scene, or at least have an idea of it, I highly recommend that you go ahead and check out The Altered Wake. As always, support indie authors, support indie movies. And when you do, please review our books, our movies on Amazon or anywhere that you find them, because that really helps other people find us. And thank you to Joe and to everyone else who is here. I always love the conversations. And it's always time to go indie now.